Hi guys, and welcome to a battle between the mighty forces of the Empire, controlled by Ronin, up against Chosen One and his legion of Wood Elves. Find themselves in desert terrain here, but unlike the Wood Elves, but of course they must be expanding out on some form of wild hunt. So we are going to pause the game here, because I do know it gets underway very quickly, and I want to go through the builds here. So for the forces of the Empire in the front line, we have a ton of cheap and cheerful spearmen with shields, but as you may have noticed, these guys are all chevroned up to at least gold chevroned, some of them in fact double gold chevroned, which is a huge and very interesting investment, perhaps expecting Dryads, and these guys I believe will beat Dryads if they are chevroned up this high. Also very capable of dealing with Eternal Guard and Cav, which of course the Wood Elves like to bring. In the back line we have 1, 2, 3, 4 units of Empire Knights, a fantastic unit against Wood Elves. Cheap and cheerful heavy Cav is also always so good against Wood Elves. Good at shutting down skirmishers, taking those pesky shots, and also pinning in Wild Riders. I think Wild Riders will win if they do get an effective charge early on, but the Empire Knights, especially when chevroned up by these ones, can definitely hold them there, hold the line, and wait for some support to come in. And the support is going to be coming in the shape here of 2 Luminarchs of Hish here, which is a bit of a meme pick considered by some, but these guys do huge laser beam damage. Very quickly, fire pretty damn slow. Obviously you can see low rate of fire, but huge burst damage coming in if they can make their shots. Now to assist these guys in making their shots today, we have a Light Wizard coming in with the Nest for Amantok, always very good. Forest Protection, Bronus Time Warp, which will be interesting on the Spearmen up against Wood Elf Infantry. We also have a Power Stone as well, and Boris Todbringer on foot with his, as always, glorious headgear here. Coming in with the nice castle helm, and of course all the beautiful feathers. But you don't often get to see him on foot, so it's going to be pretty interesting to see how he does here. Now for the forces of the Wood Elves and Chosen One here, in the front lines we do have Dryads. Looks like these guys are chevroned up as well, but nowhere near to the same level as the Wood Elf Infantry, or the Empire Infantry. And should do a decent job, though, of wrapping around and trying to surround and push through on top of these Luminarchs. We have a large Cav contingent. On the right flank, we have 1 unit of Wild Riders. And on the left, we have more Wild Riders mixed in with Sisters of Thorn. And I do believe the Wild Hunters of Kurnos, one of the most fantastic looking units in the game. This would be horrifying to see come in charging with their glowing eyes and glowing spears here. But they get really nice bonus versus large. Decent unit overall, and I take them in quite a lot of my Wood Elf builds, especially when you know you're doing a rush build. We also have the Wardens of Sifril, a very underused unit indeed. Regiment Round Wildwood Rangers coming in with that armor piercing, anti-large, but also armor sundering. Really help out in those big blob fights up against Cav and allow the Wild Riders to punch massively above their weight. We have a Branch Wraith on foot coming in with Earthblood. Is that what I think it is? You're coming in with Awakening the Wood, a ability you don't see too often at all, and the Pendulum as well. And we also have the mighty Orion leading the wild hunt with his bit of a derpy face right now, but he's a very powerful combatant, coming in with that massive Cloak of Isha as well. When it's below 20% hit points, huge damage resistance and massive boost to health as well. And of course he has all his general abilities plus the Horn of the Wild Hunt. So without further ado, let's get this battle underway. So it's going to be interesting to see what does go on overall. Can the Wood Elves crack the shell? So I'm actually going to pause this right now, because there's something very interesting does happen. So this was in fact played in a King of the Hill I was watching. But as the Luminarch shot comes in, look at Orion's health. I think it must be a bug. So he takes a big burst, but then bam, 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 as if he's been hit 4 times, which is pretty damn insane. Perhaps it's just the way the health generates, but I don't think he should be able to take half health. So I feel like the Luminarch shot there probably actually hit twice, which is a bit of a bug in the game that can be brought around with the Luminarchs. But we'll see how that progresses anyway. So nice early volleys, one going off on some Wild Riders as well, taking care of a few models. As the Dryads do charge forward, perhaps not realising the Spearmen are gold chevroned as well, but I suppose his hand is kind of forced. He needs to push up and close the distance. As both the Luminarchs wind up shots again, both this time focusing their fire down on Orion, up to 2,900 health. Bam, bam, and down he goes. Huge damage coming in. So you do not have to worry about the Cloak of Isha if you could just burst that damage down that quickly. It doesn't even get to come into play. So massive advantage to the Empire off the gates, as we get some nice cycle charging coming in from the Empire Knights, trying to stomp on these Dryads, but great counter charge coming in by the Wood Elves as well as they try and force their way up this hill here. Empire Knights being used very defensively, which I like to see, protecting the investment of the Luminarchs here. Another huge shot comes burrowing down through these Dryads and whacks that Branch Wraith down to about half health. But there's a big overload on this flank of Wild Hunters, Colonels, and Wild Riders, but being forced back at the side of these brave Empire Knights sallying forth to protect their very, very expensive investment here of the Luminarchs. Overall, we do have a bonus time walk coming down on this Spear Infantry, plus the Empire Knights are actually going to allow them to fight very effectively up against the Wild Riders, and also help beat down the Dryads. Nice shot coming into the branch wave once again. Shield of Thorns was popped on this big blob as well. So pretty pitched fight over on this side, and the Wood Elves are starting to crawl their way back into the game slightly as they overload this side and start forcing their way into the back line. Cycle charging while these Wild Riders on the front line, trying to assist the Dryads where possible, but they're just getting beat down here by these chevrons up Spearmen and the help of the Empire Knights, who've been used very effectively. More Luminarch shots coming in, aiming for the branch wave this time, and eviscerating that poor tree lady. So these guys certainly paid for themselves so far, and now have some real decent shots into some Wild Riders who are pushing through, though. They've driven off some Empire Knights here. Curse of Veneer coming down, Wardens of Sifril getting in there and helping deal with those Knights. But very wisely, more Empire Knights do flee backwards. Sister Thorn's broken into the back line on this side, and it looks like the Wild Riders have given up on the front line, swooped around here, and they're going to be trying to crash into this Luminarch of Hysh. But once again, Empire Knights are there to put their bodies on the line for Sigma and stop these Riders from getting through. Fortunately, though, Wild Riders do get in the back line once again to shut down this Luminarch, but it manages to trot away as these guys are going to try to sandwich these Empire Knights. And there's just so a hard game here for the Wood Elves, trying to shut down the Luminarchs. Now, do you invest in trying to shut these guys down now that your big single entities and perfect targets are gone? Or do you try and focus down and win the main fight? But it's going to be tough. Overall, though, Wild Hunter Colonels do start to fall back. They did catch the Luminarch of Hysh, but it's relatively tanky, considering it takes a little while. You can't just instantly kill it as soon as you catch it. So Empire Knights were managed to come back to the cause there and help rally. Wild Hunters fled to get a nice charge back in, but instead are met by a net of Amantok. Of course, this is the overcast variety as well. So Dryads are being stuck with these Wild Hunters, and Spearmen are starting to come in with Boris, allowing them to catch these much quicker woodland folk. Empire Knights continue to hold the line once more. In the back lines, we do have Empire Knights slowly being dragged down by Sisters of Thorn in combat. And the back line is a bit of a mess now, but the front line certainly won here by the Empire. You can see Spearmen have started to go back in drips and drabs to this back line to help out while the Wood Elves were trying to get a foothold back into the game. And in the front line, we have a couple of rallying Dryads, but they're not really going to be able to break through too effectively. Luminarch, in fact, being used in combat here. I don't know if that is deliberate, being charged in there to help push over the Dryads, or if it is going to indeed fall back. Nice Wild Hunter of Colonel's play so far, getting into some pretty decent engagements and hunting down the Light Wizard, who's been a pesky combatant throughout the battle. Force him off before fleeing for some Empire Knights. They're probably going to try and isolate these guys before turning to charge in once again. The balance of power is so heavily in favour of their Empire. The Wood Elves still certainly have some good tools on display, but with no leadership leading their army, it is really going to be a case of their units breaking over and over again. Sisters of Thorn charging some Empire Knights as another Luminarch shot comes bursting into the back of those Dryads, tearing down so many of those folk there. Wardens of Sifril eventually being dragged down by Spim. Not the fight they want to be. These guys want to be on top of the Empire Knights, trying to drag them down, but they will win this engagement by themselves. However, it's not really super cost effective, especially with Boris Toddbringer charging into the back there, gloriously waddling forward. Used to seeing him on top of his mighty steeds, but they're getting in there and doing some decent damage, driving away the Wardens as quickly as he can from his desert. This is Empire land, and they will force him away. Empire Knights engage here with Sisters of Thorn. Sisters of Thorn, unfortunately, will be dragged down here. They're more of a skirmish cav. They do have decent melee combatants and decent spells as well. I quite like them as a unit, but not the perfect engagement for them. And it looks like that is going to be army losses and a Pyrrhic victory to the Empire in a very, very strange game. So let's go to the end stats here and do a tiny wee bit of analysis. So very well played to Ronin and Chosen One. Chosen One had, in fact, just beaten me in the round before, so I was happy to see some vengeance come down to him. But yes, this was all on Raptors King of the Hill, who does in fact have a Twitch account, so please do feel free to go over there and check out his content, and I'll try and remember to put a link down in the description below to that account. But anyway, on to the game. So the Spearmen with the gold chevron, very interesting pick there, managed to hold the line against the Dryads and knew to their effectiveness so well, and just held. They held for Sigma there, making him proud and allowing the Luminarchs to really get the value. Now, there was definitely a bug, in my opinion, at the start. Orion should not have taken half health from one shot. We saw afterwards, then two Luminarchs shot into him, and did a quarter each. So that makes a lot more sense. So I feel like he got double hit at the start, which apparently Chosen One was telling me in the chat afterwards was a bug, I believe. But a little bit of display there anyway of how that can work, but still very nice sniping potential. I'm not sure Orion would have managed to survive too long anyway once those guys had got their sights trained onto him. Interesting seeing Boris on the foot as well. Don't get to see him too often. I saw him on a horse a couple of games ago as well. You normally see him on his big flying mount, but I quite like that. Stops him getting sniped out. And as for Chosen One's build, I actually really like the build. Just very unfortunate early on to run into the Luminarchs that cut down Orion. Takes away the Horn of the Wild Hunt, which is so effective at allowing Wild Riders to carve through Empire Knights much quickly and more effectively, especially when combined with the Wardens of Sifril. But anyway guys, hope you did enjoy. If you did, please do consider leaving a like and subscribing for all that Total War content. If you want to see replays on the channel of yourself or any games you've played with friends and whatnot, feel free to join my Discord. There is a link just in the description down below and get involved in the community. Until next time guys, peace, and stay awesome.